General Andrews,
And the Dream Stream presents Rapid Runs.
Here's your thing muted, and then it'll just start. The timer will start whenever the thing goes. Oh, you're going to start it.
either way, yeah, I'm just going to pay attention. Once I see that go, that means I know that I'll hit it.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking for.
Alrighty. And 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, folks. So what you're...
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, so just so you know, we can still hear both of the runners right now, but that's fine. They already know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to use ESP, and with that ESP, they're going to be able to go ahead and
what's more important? My
communicate.
Light? Yeah, my light. All right, so
there we go.
Let's go the light attack. Beautiful.
There we go. Now we're good to go. I got them both muted on my side, so that way they can communicate. No prob, Bob. All right, folks. What you're seeing right now is a game called Sworn. It is a Hades-like. It is a Hades-like, but co-op. You could play this with one if you wanted to do solo, or what a lot of people prefer to do is playing this with 2, 3, or 4 total people. And it does scale based on how many people are in your party. However, the scale from 1 to 2 players is the smallest. And like, I feel like co-op is probably the easiest. Well, both runners feel very comfortable, or both players feel very comfortable playing this run, is that both of them will find themselves going pretty darn quickly through it, even though, yes, 1 player is still faster than 2 player, when I know some of you are curious about that, where there's some games where it's different. So what you're seeing right now is these runners are choosing between a myriad of different skill sets, right? So they're going to be choosing between passives, actives, bonus stacks. You're going to see someone like SpazeeMcgee looking for things like increases in these secret shops here. Early on, they're going to go for elite money grabs. So what that means is this is a money level right here. You saw that big old coin on the door, which also means it's going to feature a mini boss, also referred to as elites. Elites are easier though than the actual mini bosses of each level, and then easier than the bosses of each level on top of that. They did that to collect a bunch of money. They're going to go to the sword and the stone. There's only 2 of those total in the current setup for Sworn, and it's a buff that goes on to either your spells or your heavy or light attacks. So they can be pretty advantageous here. So what you're looking here is a light attack will be 50% faster. When foes are killed in the area, restores more health. Foes within your area of your spell take increased damage. So that's the one that SpazeeMcgee is going to take with his character. Now, Spazee's playing as the Rook because the Rook has the ability to damage boost both characters. Well, really speed boost, which allows him to maneuver for a ton more damage. And the Vigilante is one of the fastest damage dealing units in the game. Not the heaviest hitting, but definitely fastest, and then has abilities that can go ahead and go even faster and faster and faster if you choose to use those. Now you're gonna see traps in these rooms. Traps hurt both the players and the enemies. Ooh, this is a good one here. They got Bob, so they're going to go ahead and start to pick some really, really cool stuff for back attacks. They're going to look for things like evade. Because again, for this run, they're probably not going for a PvP overall, because the timer they care about personally for themselves is that corner in the top right of the gameplay. If you can see that, that's how this game monitors its speedrunning time. We have an overall timer because, as you know, it's real time, and so we're just paying attention in between when they have to choose for stuff as well. That's why roughly this is as a 30-minute run, because there's the time between choosing abilities, moving between rooms, that doesn't count against your timer for the in-game timer. They are making such quick work of these rooms. They made sure to avoid Lancelot right there. Once you've beaten the game once, Lancelot starts appearing in all the different biomes. There's 3 total quests that Lancelot wants to go ahead and dish upon you. 2 of them are easy. 2 of them require just an exchange, but one of them requires a room battle that is pretty hard, especially for where he wants you to take it on at that point in the game. I won't really get into too much more detail than that for those that haven't seen it. You're not going to see it in this run either. This is not a Morgana percent. Morgana percent is technically the full version of this game. If you want the good ending, these 2 are going to go ahead and have the bad ending because that is currently the quickest of the 2. Because obviously you play a whole nother biome plus a boss fight, it's going to be slower than playing up to a shorter point in the game. All right, they're already at their first boss. This is Gawain, the Butcher of Viral. And look at this, they're chunking big time. Great back attacks. Look at that, that's boss health right now that is just melting. They're gonna actually just stand here and do a bunch of damage. They don't even care if they're getting hurt because they're gonna be able to heal more than enough by the time that they get into the boss room. Awesome start. It should be, by the time that animation is done, less than 3 minutes. There it is, 255.7. Awesome, awesome stuff. So when they go in here, they have a fountain. Every time you beat a biome, there is a fountain that you can go ahead and get a good chunk of your health back. Now, you'll see 60 pop up for them because they have their units both maxed out. But when you're first playing this, it's a lot less, but it still feels nice simply because you haven't... You're not used to that. You're like, wait, a 30 health gain? Like, that's great. Then as it scales higher and higher as you unlock more things, you'll see how much more worth it is. All right, these 2 are going after the crystal shards here. Either one wasn't really going to make too much of a difference. It just matters, did they put any points into crystal shards, give them health at the end of the level or not? That would be the difference maker there, where they're going to probably want to always have full health. That way they feel comfortable always being very, very aggressive, even in these poison rooms. If you notice, these rooms here have these little mushrooms that if you hit them, they start spewing poisonous spores everywhere. So they have a choice between an Oberon or a double upgrade. Both are probably going to be good, but one is definitely going to be better. Problem is, you don't know until you go inside, because you don't know what abilities are going to be given to you to choose between. Because sometimes it's amazing choices. Other times, you're like, oh, that wasn't really that good of a choice. Oh, trying to get into it? There we go. Okay, let's see here. Some Fury stacking. Are they going to roll some dice? We're about to find out. Ooh, Fury stacks. Okay. And that's a double set of Fury stacks as well, because both rooms were going to be double, which was an interesting scenario to be in. That's more on the rarer side when you get offered 2 elite rooms. Now, these bad guys aren't that bad, but they do some really good damage for those blasts they send out in all directions. It's more than omnidirectional. It's almost like a 16 directional. That was a small room, though. Very, very cool. So now they're going to avoid the timed rooms, or like the rooms that are events, because too often you get the timed ones, which means that it's going to be 45 seconds of surviving, which sounds like not that much time, but as you can tell, sometimes with these rooms, they're able to clear them in less than 30 seconds. So they don't want to take on an event that's going to give them a forced long period of time. Now, once in a while, though, it's not a bad idea, because you'll get some that are spawn the crystals, and those crystals start spawning so quickly, as long as they are destroyed fast enough, you win the room pretty quickly. All right, here we go. Nice quick shot with that spell. All right, they're making quick work of this room already. Now, you see that dark, sloppy, mucky stuff? You go really slow when you're trying to move through it. Even when you dash, it like reduces your dash by more than 50%. It's pretty rough. Okay, are you ready for another mini boss? This is the Putrid Pestilence second of 2 mini bosses, and the preferred one by most runners is the twins. All right, so these two blind super buff rats have been hanging out with Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger for way too long, but that's okay. AdmiralMediocre and SpazeeMcgee have been working out on their athletic training. So yeah, they're strong, but their bigger point about them is that they can hit hard in all the weak spots, such as behind the back. Woohoo! So now you're gonna start seeing them whenever they get a shop offer to them, they're gonna go ahead and take that, because the time loss for it's about, they force like 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, something like that. Plus they can go ahead and purchase some abilities. So they're gonna probably use their gold here to look for something that might be helpful. And sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't. All right, they're looking around to see if they need health. They're not feeling it, they're looking for an upgrade. They're looking for an upgrade. So of the abilities they already have, they're gonna go ahead and make it stronger after they win this room here.
I live in California, and Twitch takes such a high percentage.
Thank you so much for those gift subs, donors. I appreciate it. Dreamers, remember, we still have donations going on for the Lupus Foundation of America, for Game On to End Lupus, ! And donate, or it's at the top of the chat. For every dollar you give, it's worth double. So $2 is worth 4, $5 is worth 10. Once we hit 750, we have a ton of games we have to give away. And if it can be done before this run is over, I'm adding even more games to that. That's right, I'm a freaking madman. Well, these two are a couple of madmen. Oh my goodness, that one little enemy is hiding off to the side, thinking he was cool. Looks like Mediocre just went and smacked him. All right, let's see here. What is that? Oh, Chilling Flourish. Spazzy's feeling pretty darn good about that. Now going to the shop here, getting some double upgrades. Oh, it might get a random fade that he hopes to have. Let's see here. Oh, I want some damage boosting. Okay. And bad. Oh my gosh. He's willing to give it on up though to Admiral, because I think Admiral might need it. And that's one of the cool things about co-op here, is you could go ahead and say, hey, I know you're still searching for this one. Let's not go any further. Here's one, check it on out. And let's hope he got the right one. Now, if I had this set up properly, where I had it for 2 feeds that were for 1920 by 1080, then we could have seen the second feed. I forgot that I only have a race / double perspective set up for 4x3 perspective. Oh, there's the shop room. Awesome, this helps them out once again. They're gonna look and see if there's some cool stuff they can buy. If not, it was just a nice time save. A little health. This boss is actually really annoying, so you want to be really, really, really aggressive. His outside of his level here, the outside of his level right here is covered in that muck, which slows you down. So if he dives in there and you dive in after him to do damage because he's just chilling over there like a villain, it's gonna lose you a bunch of time. Now, if he just stays near you, which would be preferred, you can start to do some real damage. See how he likes to dive all over the place? Get all this poison everywhere. All right, and both of these, oh, that's the first death. I was just gonna say both of them still have all of it. Those are res tokens. Once a teammate dies, though, at the end of a room, you can bring a friend back. But one person does have to survive. It can't be done in mid-room. It has to be done once the room has been cleared. Okay, even though they both perished, one time apiece, they're still looking good on res tokens overall. They're going to get a big heal right here, and their second and final Sword in the Stone room. Now, we're going to hope that they get what they want after clearing this room here. Now, the Deep Harbor, most of the time, has some really, really good rooms. They're not that bad, except when you have to deal with the elite rooms. The elite rooms in the harbor are really treacherous, because either you're dealing with massive long necks or you're dealing with supersized biggies. You saw those guys slapping their flippers, their flappers all on the ground there. There's one that's like 3 or 4 times as big as that. And those ones take a long time to kill. They're just so tanky. Again, they are skipping the event room because they don't know if it's going to be good or bad. They're going to go with consistency here. Great start. That's 2 down. And make that 3. Can we get a 4? That is not too bad. They got some health. They'll take that. They'll take the health. They're looking around the edges, see if they can grab anything else. Some money, some health. Doesn't seem to be the case. So the game's forced them to go get more health. What can I say? The game is telling them exactly where to go. To the next room. All right, again, taking on some of these big boys. Oh, here we go. Here's a punk. These underwater dudes, the reason why they're such punks is that they have iframes when they go under the water. So I was like, I don't even need that health. That's how good he feels right now. He's feeling really good. He doesn't need any of that. All right, look at this. Here they go. Now they're going to start getting trickier over here. There they are. I knew the long necks were due. Okay. So these are the guys, and they do a ton of damage as well. If they hit you at the end of their bite, you could definitely see 50 to 60 damage coming off of your character, which is an awful lot. You usually don't see that till the very end. You usually don't see it till the very end. Yow! Coco confession. Look at this. Look at these two badasses. Taking down the 3rd mini boss. Great work, folks. If you don't know, this game has 4 biomes for the standard. 4 biomes for the standard. And they're approaching the boss for the 3rd biome. Folks, Coco did so gosh darn good today. Coco's goal of 15,000 was reached and surpassed today on stream. Also, Coco and Ellie were flirting. What can I do about this except just accept it for what it is? Now, let's see if these two can flirt with a new PB for themselves. For a new PB for themselves. I heard something like whips were involved. I don't know about these long-range attacks that you two might, get yourselves involved in. All I can see on the screen is stun after stun after stun. This is exactly what both of these want, because again, you see how the long necks like to go underwater here. You don't want that. You can't do any damage. But these two, they're moving. Again, even though they lost a res token apiece, that's okay because their speed overall right now is really, really good. All right, they're siding between Bab and Oberon here. I don't know what both players' layouts are right now, but they're going for Oberon because Oberon typically has got some damage stacks, which is a little bit more consistent than going with Lou's crit stacks. So that's why these two are typically going more with Oberon than you see them going with Lou, like when I was playing solo. Ooh, look at that. There's a legendary dash. Unfortunately, they're probably looking for something else. Does have 5 rerolls though. I don't know how many rerolls Admiral's sitting on, but I'm sure they're looking to go ahead and capitalize as much as they possibly can. Folks, we have a sale going on right now, but it's a 2-timeser. It's a 2-timeser. Ooh. And folks, don't you worry, if you have not seen Coco yet this weekend, she still has one more She has one more stream tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So pay attention when she goes live so you can go ahead and catch that awesome action. All right. A res token went down, but they're about to face boss number 3. They're about to face boss number 3. They're doing really good on time. So let's hope they can get some good stuns to start out with this gal, Lady Bedivere. She's a badass, but thankfully, if you can stun her, oh, right now they haven't even needed a stun yet. They actually barely have the stun built up, but their back damage, they are really laying it on thick. Look at this. All right, she's almost gone. Not too shabby. Look at that. Folks, one biome to go. All right, they're gonna get a nice health refill here. They're gonna dash down this hallway. They don't want to lose any time. All right, they did it. All right, they are choosing the Fae because that means they will get a potential new ability here. Only 2 Knights of the Round Table to start for this battle, which is great. Great work, especially with those mechanical statues on the side. Those things can really mess you up. All right, they both got their abilities. Move on to the next one. All right, only 2 enemies again. Now, this guy that slams the ground with that aura ring, wow, they made really quick work of him. That was necessary. That was super duper clutch what they just pulled off. All right, now they're thinking about it. Upgrade the ability. Yeah, they're thinking upgrade the ability. All right, there's a mage right there. The mage warps around a lot, which is really annoying. All right, there we go. Quick work of that room. Sorry, of that boss. Oh my gosh. Of that fight. That's all it is. Quick work of that fight. The room's still going. That's not the boss. All right, they're thinking about health this time because they're running lower on their res tokens. They're running lower on their res tokens than they'd want. Great work of that enemy, though. All right, great dodges. He has to wait to take this guy out, then he can bring back his friend. All right. So he has to choose between money or health. He'll definitely do the health to bring back his friend. I think they have one more fight to do. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. Last one of this room. Great start. And it's actually a good combo. None of them are the thick bad guy. I don't know the names of those enemies either. Otherwise, I'd call them by their proper name. Excellent work. All right, now they go on into the final quote-unquote shop room before the final boss of this run. So they're going to fill on up with that health. Great choice. 90 gold. They're either looking at an upgrade right there or they're looking at some more health. I think what they did was the right thing to do. The person with an extra res token took the more health. The person who doesn't have any more reses took the upgrade. I think that was the right way to go about it, in my personal opinion. All right, folks, I hope you're ready for the final fight against none other than King Arthur. All right, great start. They have to watch out for that sword barrage, because that sword barrage, actually, if you keep on getting hit by successive swords, it keeps on stacking damage. All right, they're going to dodge here right now. Oh, excellent work there. Excellent work. All right, they're going to keep dodging. They save their ults to keep themselves alive more than they keep it for damage, folks. They use the ultimates to keep themselves alive, like right here. Great example. They didn't want to take extra damage during this fight. Switch into an ultimate to stay alive. Smart. Again, watch out for here. But look at this, streamers. King Arthur's dragon form? The corrupted tyrant? Oh my gosh, streamers. It's getting hot in here. Are you ready for, look at this. There's bloodshed, there's fire just storming from the skies. Look at these two. They are trying their hardest. All right, they got the boss to half health. Again, taking less damage by going into ult form. Here we go, here we go. All right, it's all right. He's on his final res, but his friend's still alive too, so they're both gonna be doing damage. Here we go, here we go. Quarter health. Ultimate time to stay alive and not take any damage. I love it. All right, you just gotta stay alive here, folks. Unfortunately, they were 1% away from beating the final boss. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. That was so close. I'm sorry, you two.
We practiced so hard for this run. We never failed out.
Oh, well, folks, now we can hear these two. They're feeling it with like a 1% of the boss's health left. That was it.
That was the worst run today. What?
That was literally our worst run. Like, we had the perfect run before we jumped on.
Oh no. Oh
like
no.
A perfect run. Like, we had everybody cleared, I think, within 7 minutes.
Oh my
Close to it.
goodness.